what are we listening to today?
The Immigrant Project by Girish and Astha.
Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Immigrant Project by Girish and Astha. Today we have Mansi as our guest today. I was introduced to Mansi last year by Priti, and Priti speaks I think almost every other week about Mansi and how Mansi has been so kind to Priti ever since she came to Canada. I had the privilege of meeting Mansi last year, and I want to say that it was life-changing because this person is such a free bird. She is, of course, an artist, but she's so inspirational. She is one of the few people who I met in this country who has been very decisive about what she wants to do. And every time I meet her, Mansi has a new place on her bucket list that she would want to go and explore. So I have no idea how many places in Canada Mansi has explored, but I think we'll touch upon that in the conversation. But I'll just tell Mansi to quickly introduce herself to the audience.
Hi everyone. I'm quite humbled by Girish's words. That's really sweet of you. I wouldn't give myself so much credit on that, but I'm quite happy to hear that. And I love Preeti absolutely. I adore that she admires everything I do. Uh, yeah, as you said, I think it covers a lot about me when it comes to my introduction. I'm an artist. That's how I introduce myself. You might ask what kind of artist. I would say all kinds. I am a practicing artist because I don't think art it can fit in one box. And like everybody likes to categorize art in a certain section, I personally don't think that is how it works. A little about my profession. I am into visual effects. I studied for that and pursued the same. I also have a little bit of background in designing from India. Besides all of this, professionally, I have danced a lot. I've represented India. I've also been a professional dancer in India and in Canada for a while. And I like to do that as my passion, not exactly as a profession. And I have a small business. So this is a little bit of gist about me. Yeah, that's all.
Well, thank you so much, Mansi. We would want to touch upon your passion, business, education in this
Hmm.
episode. But before that, I
Hmm.
wanted to check with you. Do you have a statue behind you of the dancing symbol of India? I don't know the exact name. Is it
Natraja.
Natraja? Yeah,
Natraj, yes.
Natraj, right? So, is
Yes.
there a story behind it?
Not really. As a dancer, I think you are supposed to have Natraj in your house. Okay, my mom hates that I have Natraj in my house. She thinks that it brings a lot of anger in you. And my answer
Oh.
is, when was it missing? I don't think it was ever missing that a statue in my house would actually change that. So my nanny and my grandmother basically never approves of the fact that I have Nataraj in my house, and then that's right next to my like mandir. Like I have a small area for
Hmm.
it, but yeah, I worship Nataraj. It's really close to me, and I don't have a story, but I absolutely love it. My mom never allowed me to have it, and now that I've been living all by myself for like 4 or 5 years, like completely alone. Like I've never had roommates ever since 2019.
Yeah.
So I I have an Nataraj in my house, and nobody can say you can't have this in your house.
Yeah, I think the statue of Nataraja in its true essence is the embodiment of art, pure raw
Correct.
form of art in itself. Yeah,
Yep.
which is dance.
Yes, and not just dancing, it's also good over evil that people keep forgetting. We celebrate Holi with that subject, but then when it comes to Nataraj, we frown upon that. We worship Kali. We have the same concept in Kali. The anger that these gods and goddesses have are symbolized in a certain way, but people fail to understand that. I'm not sure what's the reason behind it, but
Hmm.
I feel I should not shy out. I should have that in my house because that's the essence I like. Whether it's anger or expression or whatever it is, I like it.
Wow. No, that's a nice way to put it.
Mhm.
So, Mansi, my first question to you as a guest
Mhm.
on this podcast is you said that you came to this country 4, 5 years back and you haven't had any flatmates, housemates, etc.
Mhm.
So, my
Mhm.
first question, very basic question to you is what
Mhm.
motivated you to make that change?
Robbery.
No, to
Just
come to Canada.
oh, you're talking about, I thought you're asking about living alone, but okay. Um, Honestly, I did not want to move to Canada. I lived in
Oh,
Mumbai. I feel I had a comfortable life. I never wanted to move to any other country. My
hmm,
my whole motto to people was that India has everything. It has the growth potential that you need. You don't need to step out.
hmm,
However, things changed when I was trying to have a comfortable life for my partner as it was his dream. So I alone ventured around and that relation did not work out. However, Canada still stayed with me. Along with that motivation in mind, I also had a very stern reason in terms of career because visual effects, as you know, is not an industry that's um, widely appreciated in Bollywood or in India as much. If I
yeah,
talk about the year 2017 and 18, when I actually took this decision of coming to Canada, like around end of 2017,
yeah,
over the time, visual effects has gained its recognition across the globe in India. But I think it wasn't so prominent in India while I was there. Even now, the work culture is not as as advanced as I would like it to be.
hmm,
So I think I made a right choice. Also, in India, you don't have um, like a quality education that you look for in visual effects, especially.
yeah,
So I chose to have that, and I had a simple motto in life. I want to be an artist, just not a broke artist. Simple. So I
yeah.
found a way to have a life around it. Also, I was always curious about how these movies are made. As a child, I'm sure when you look at something so cool, you're like, "Oh my God, I don't know how this was made," but like, you have questions in your mind. So I think that ignited a lot of passion in me. In general, I was quite artistic since the
Hmm.
beginning. So I just went for visual effects, and I'm happy that I chose
Wow.
that.
Speaking more about effects, I think you're right because when I used to, as a kid, when I used to watch a lot of these movies, and I used to wait till end credits, and all the names that I could see in the end credits were nowhere related to any Indian names. And nowadays, when
Correct.
we go and watch Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, you see a lot of these Indian organizations who are given this outsourced job of doing some visual
Correct.
effect work in some scene of the movie. So yeah, the market is growing, but probably the demand
Hmm.
was not there in the case probably in 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
So yeah, and to add to your point of, there is more demand in the Western country,
Yeah.
Western countries rather, for visual effects. I was listening to a podcast, actually an audiobook by the CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, and how Bob
Hmm.
Iger, in his pursuit to become the CEO of Disney, had ideas of acquiring Pixar along the way, ideas of acquiring Lucasfilm. So all of
Hmm.
these companies, they were built on a strong foundation of a great visual effects team. So I
Correct.
think I think Western countries do realize the importance of visual, whatever the profession is called, visual
Visual
effects
effects. Um,
designer.
I would I would like to just add something to it. People think visual effects is something that's done by a person or a group of people who know just one thing. I
Yeah.
would like to add that that like the understanding of this industry is is very low amongst the awareness is too low. Um, I feel Indian, I would go to the basics. The reason it's not so prominent in India is because till date, I feel we do not give more importance to visual effects. Our style of movies is more about storytelling, and we give importance to actors more
Hmm.
than visual effects. We don't look, it's improvising. I agree. Like now, I can actually name a lot of Indian movies that have great visual effects. I can tell you visual effects companies that are amazing now, but like a core foundation of storytelling is
Yeah.
really dramatic. We have a lot of actors, whereas in the West, we have a different format of movie building, and you would not hear a single actor being paid like immensely large, unreasonable amount of payment just
Yeah.
because that person is so popular. I don't think that's a thing in the West. I've worked on multiple Hollywood projects. I've seen how things work. They do give importance to artists. The work culture is healthier right now. I think that makes a difference. I appreciate that a lot. I love Indian cinema for the work that it does.
Yeah.
However, our style of movies are not the same, but
Yeah.
it's slowly getting there.
That's true. Yeah. Audience consumption pattern, especially for Indian cinema, it's slightly changing,
Hmm.
slightly evolving. So yeah, I think
Correct.
quality movies will come out, but it'll take some time.
Yeah,
It'll
definitely.
take
We have
time.
some now. Yeah, I completely agree. I was just recently showing one of my visual effects colleague that, hey, look at this scene. This is from India. We do speak about low quality visual effects, but just look at how brilliant this scene is. I was looking at the introduction scene of Jawan.
Hmm.
The introduction scene of Jawan is has an anime theme, but at the same time, that anime theme is constructed so well with efficient, like, the visual effects element is
Hmm.
really great. And
And all of that
Reese,
was done in-house in India?
yes, Red Chili's
Wow. Oh
visual
yeah, of
effects is
course.
doing a great
Shah Rukh
job.
Khan.
Yes,
Hmm.
and I think even Fighter did not have bad visual effects. It was fair enough. There are some visual effects companies that are really great. I think core Indian-born companies, out of those, I think Red Chili's is the best so far.
Hmm.
Like, because
Okay.
last year the best visual effects award went to Bheria, which was done by my company.
Oh, congratulations.
So, no, thank you. I did not work on it, but it was still done in a company that is not an Indian origin, but it was awarded in India.
Hmm.
Now I think we've come up with better movies that were entirely made in India, and the visual effects was
It's
commendable. I
getting
like it.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
the technology is
So
getting there.
I'm waiting to go back and work.
Well, yeah, we will come to that, but I want to spend some
Hmm.
time talking about your work experience
Hmm.
as an immigrant in
Hmm.
Canada. So can you tell us about how you started, where you started, from where you started, and where are you right now? What all jobs did you do?
I'm going to be honest, it was difficult in the beginning. We all, as immigrants, complain about what kind of jobs we've done, and I completely understand where that comes from.
Hmm.
Being a spoiled brat in Mumbai who got her dishes done all the time, and someone who was always, you know, well fed without a single effort made. For a person like me to land in Canada and see that to do everything, not just household, I'm talking about
Yeah.
when you want to earn, you are introduced to odd jobs. I started with Tim Hortons as a true Canadian and made my way into retail. From retail, I went through COVID, and once COVID started, so the COVID recession actually hit retail way before it hit everybody else. I felt because
Okay.
a lot of Canadian stock comes from China. We don't realize that, but everything comes from China. And
Okay.
I remember retail started laying off people in January, but the but the uh, what was that? The quarantine thing came in March.
Yeah. The
So it
lockdown
started
happened in
way
March.
before. Yeah,
Hmm.
but the lockdown happened in March. However, all the layoffs were in January. And right after that,
So
I
you
was
were a
like,
part of
okay,
that layoff in January?
yes,
Oh,
yes, I
you
was a
were
part of
affected.
that.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
truly. And not just that, I did not have a job for a while, and I realized that I have to get into a service in based industry, like essential businesses, as you say, because that
Right.
was my only way to get a job. And
Yeah.
considering so many people were sitting at home, again, there was not the right balance of
Hmm.
jobs and people.
Yeah.
Being a student, it was difficult. I found a job in a restaurant, and within a week again, there was a second. You know how things were, right? They were opening up the lockdown. They would like to, like,
In
oh, the
parts.
lockdown is over, and then
Yeah.
then again it would start, and then
Yeah,
there was
exactly.
a lot of uncertainty, due to which I trained for a week, and then I lost a job again, and then someone
Oh
gave my
no.
reference through that store to some other store, and I
Yeah.
went there, and I'm quite grateful. There's a store called Pizzaiola. I worked there, and
Pizza. Okay.
yeah, and it was really nice to see how people supported in that small group of immigrants, because we all talk about the Canada, which is well versed with everything. You have all the lifestyle you want, but then when you actually go to the core, you see mostly it's run by immigrants
It
like I
is.
met, and they were really amazing. I I was working at that place for a year and a half or so, until my education, like my degrees
Hmm.
were done.
Hmm.
I studied for like about 3 years, and then I started applying for my jobs. I had a system for applying for my jobs.
Yeah.
I ranked all the companies in visual effects. I listed about 40 to 45 companies. I released my resume in batches. Like, I had a system, like, I'll apply
Yeah.
to first 10, and then if the top 10 do not respond in like next 2 weeks, I will go to the second batch. So
So
I
Mansi,
barely
just
got,
for
yeah.
Mansi, sorry, just for the understanding of our audience, you said you ranked all of these companies. So did you create like an Excel sheet for your understanding and then you
Yes.
followed up with them? So that's the right way to go about this?
Yes, I went through every single company. I had good network in that company. Look, one thing that I feel is quite important in Canada to have a job is networks. Your
Hmm.
networks are quite essential. I know we talk about, you know, your qualification, skills, and everything, but imagine an office where your resume is just lying there, or in some folder somewhere. That's not going to
Hmm.
work. The
Hmm.
references to work, as much as it seems unfair.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it felt unfair to me because I was new, and I'm like, how would I have so many references? But
Yeah.
yes, that's
Over time
that's
you build your network and you build connections.
yes. I used to attend a lot of visual effects parties. I also met a lot of people from visual effects during my college days, and then they got into companies, and they were my friends, and I would network more with the whole team, and
Yeah.
eventually I built up that network. I applied within my first batch. I started getting interviews. I got a job, and then I just moved along with that job. And the moment I entered my job, I was quite happy with the fact that I've just got a job, because I know a lot of people who didn't get a job right after their graduation. In fact, I was not even graduated. I got
Yeah.
my job right after I finished my course, but my graduation
Wow.
letter was due. I personally requested for the release of my graduation letter early
So
with the dean.
wow.
So
Oh, that's
that
good,
was
right? So,
amazing.
so networking helped. Now, I have a question for
Yes.
you. You said that you were
Mm.
invited to a lot of parties, and I, for one,
Mhm.
crave a lot of parties. So, how does one go and get approached and get invited to such parties? Of course, to of course network. Asking for a friend.
I don't know. It's quite organic in my case, hence I don't quite focus on it. I understand that it's a little difficult for people who are a little bit, introverted, or
Hmm.
don't speak to a lot of people. I, for once, have this habit of talking to people nonstop. You will realize that eventually. I need to be shushed. So that kind of helps. I
That
won't tell
helped in
you
your case.
yes, it does help in general as well. I think, for example, I have a friend, I'm meeting you, and I have a friend accompanying me. I'll introduce you to.
Hmm.
From that point, it's your job or his job or her job to just, you know,
Yeah, talk to
connect with each other. Yeah.
connect.
So
Yeah.
my job of introduction is done. A lot of people, what they do is they would be introduced, they would have a small talk, have a
Hmm.
have a have an awkward hi, hello, and then go. Poof. That's never going to work. If you don't have the energy or welcoming energy to talk, like, imagine, like, we haven't met so often, but you still feel kind of connected because I would post a story, we would still have a small talk, we'll
Yeah,
chat here and there because we chose to stay connected.
correct.
If you don't choose to be connected, you will never find those links.
Hmm.
It's not something I intentionally tried to do. It's just something that organically happens when you meet and talk to more people.
Yeah. That
Okay?
is so
Speak.
true. That is so true, Mansi. I think one episode with you is definitely not enough with the amount of questions I have for you. But yeah, we do tend to keep these chats between 15, 20 to 23,
Yeah.
15 to 23 minutes. So
Hmm.
I have one last question before we
Hmm.
push all the questions to our next recording. So
Uh-huh, sure.
I want to spend some time and I wanted to understand from you. You said that you were in the entertainment industry. So I'm
Yeah.
sure, like a lot of people out there, especially in the Hollywood, your job was also affected.
Yes.
So how did you maneuver that situation for yourself? How did it affect you?
First of all, I would say it mentally affected me a lot
I'm
because
sorry.
I love my job. There was a difference between, there are two types of people when they work. One who just like looks at the clock, waits for 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
I, for once, did not care what time just
Hmm.
runs around. I've worked for 14 hours sometimes. If you tell some Canadian that someone is working for like 14 hours, are you insane? I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
I am a little bit because I am handling three locations, and I think I want to do my job in the best way possible. I would
Yeah.
that was the reason. And if you're asking about how I sailed through, Canada has something called as employment insurance. Number one is
EI.
that.
Yes.
Number two, some of my savings.
Correct.
Number three is most important. In the beginning of last year, so every January, I reflect upon how my year was previously and how I would like to see my year moving forward, in which
Yeah.
direction at least.
Yeah.
Last year, because I was promoted the year before, um, and I worked way too much and stopped focusing on myself. Last January, I decided that this year I will travel. However, I looked at my finances and said, nope, not happening. So, so I just explored around the subject of house sitting and pet sitting, basically,
Yeah.
just to have accommodations in different areas of Canada, wherever I want to go around. I was not so certain. I've always been someone who explores a lot of places,
Yeah.
but this is for the first time where I was entirely alone, planning everything from scratch without any interference or anybody tagging along, because sometimes just going around alone is a different thing rather than staying in a city for a month. I feel
Hmm.
that when you travel, if you are at a place for like 4 days and going to just tourist places, I don't think that's technically exploring that area. I feel like being a local helps
Yeah.
you to understand a little bit more. So I started doing that in January. I started shortlisting, and I was like, okay, so I will travel to these places for these many months. I will work remotely because I still had a job back then. I
Yeah.
will work remotely, and while working remotely, I'll have some pet companions. I had specifications in that. I was just precisely looking for cat sittings because compared to a dog, I felt it's a little low maintenance, and you can
Yeah.
actually step out of your house more often.
Yeah.
Besides that, I subletted my apartment, my current apartment, so that I was not paying rent at all. I was
That's
living
good.
somewhere
Yeah.
else. And
Yeah.
after gaining some house sitting experience, I was also paid for some of my house sittings.
Wow.
So
That's nice.
that was the whole plan. And I had this henna business that I carried with myself, of course, because I make my own stuff. Um, I booked different markets in these different locations, which actually were
Correct.
quite profitable. So I lost my
Hmm.
job in the first month of this travel, and then
Yeah.
I thought to myself, whatever happened happened for a reason. So my savings and my business came in handy.
Yeah.
Then I started off with EI.
Hmm.
and sustained them till now because I was just waiting for things in visual effects to get better. It just took too long. I might, just navigate myself in a different direction if required, but I'm still waiting for something in visual effects. I would rather just work in visual effects in another country or in India
Hmm.
or anywhere than to just switch my industry at this point.
Wow. Well, there's a lot to learn from you, Mansi, and there are a lot of questions that we need to ask you. Unfortunately, we are out of time for this episode for now. But
Sure.
this was a wonderful, wonderful conversation. I mean, I I honestly had no idea how much it affected the industry, and I think you gave a bird's eye view rather, and a very, very, very microscopic view as well of how it affected you. So thank you so much for sharing that.
I'm
Um,
happy.
if you have time sometime in the next week or the week after that, we would love to have a second chat with you.
Sure, I'll be happy to.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Mansi.
You're welcome.
Take care. You
Take care,
have a nice
Girish.
day.
Bye.
Bye.